Okay. Thank you, guys. Like the MC said, I really appreciate you guys getting up early and coming out for my talk. It's a big ask, 9:15 on a Saturday, so really appreciate it. I like to start my talk with a little bit of a thought-provoking quote, generally. And this is one that always surprises me a little bit. On face value, it seems really simple, but it's something that quite often as communities we can kind of get wrong. So I'll contextualize this a little bit for you before I jump into the main talk. So Web3 is, bigger than one chain, one network. And often, the tribalism that we can kind of see in Web3 kind of cannibalizes the success of Web3 for all of us. And it's really only by working together that we can elevate one another, elevate Web3, and have us all win. So I kind of analogize that a little bit to when somebody is buying something, if you think. So it could be anything. Let's say a car. If you've picked a few cars out that you like, you go to the car dealership. If they suddenly start hammering the other brands that you're looking at, you go to the other car dealership, they hammer the other brands as well. As a buyer, you're going to be really confused. You're not going to engage, right? So I see that a little bit in the same way with Web3. If we continually kind of hammer at each other, it's not going to kind of give people a confidence to come on board. So keep that in mind. And as I move into my next slide shortly, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how Hedera leans into that as well. I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit first. So I'm Matt Woodward. I'm the head of developer relations at Swirlds Labs for Hedera. I absolutely welcome you to connect with me as you'd like. I'm basically a full-stack developer. I have been for over 2 decades throughout my entire career so far. And that's included software architecture, software integration as well. I've also had the pleasure of running my own companies, of building my own startups. So when it comes to software development, innovation, strategy, it's something that I've really got battle-tested with, so I've got you covered. So I'd like to talk a little bit today about cross-chain or multi-chain development. I know from having been in this space for a little while now that developers want to build a cross-chain, and that sort of comes across from a number of different needs and wants. It might be simply to reach a new audience. It might be to migrate entirely to a new platform. You might be working with a channel partner that you want to connect with that's working on a different chain. Or very simply, you might just want to leverage some very specific network benefits. Now, EVM compatibility and more so equivalence are going to be really key in letting developers do that in Web3. So Hedera's journey on this kind of started well over a year ago as we migrated our EVM over to the Hyperledger Besu EVM. And that allowed us to maintain parity with the Ethereum mainnet evolutions, such as the EVM container formats, the opcodes, the precompiled contracts as well. We took that one step further, and we integrated our own token service into the EVM as well. So our token service known as HTS, or Hedera Token Service. And that means that you can essentially treat the tokens through the EVM in exactly the same way as you would treat Ethereum tokens today, so ERC20 or 721. Finally, when we were doing that integration, we also increased the performance to 15 million gas per second. That gives us roughly 350 TPS for smart contracts alone. Now, I'm just going to pull out at this point and highlight that there is a balance here with having that familiarity with being able to deploy a smart contract using Solidity on an EVM-compatible smart contract service like this and getting that kind of performance. There's also an option for you on Hedera that if you want higher performance, you can use our native services. Those will currently operate at 10,000 TPS instead, and are often a faster and quicker way of being able to access our network. So I'm just going to share what I mean by that a little bit, just to give you some context. So this is the Hedera network as it stands today. And the network services you can see right across the middle in bright pink, so it's hard to miss them, right? We've got a consensus service up there that is provided to give you verifiable timestamps and event ordering, and that can be used on Web 2 or Web 3 platforms. We've got our token service, and that's everything to do with fungible, non-fungible tokens, token management, so creating, minting, transferring, burning, all of the things that you love to do normally with it. And then we've got the EVM-compatible smart contract service on the far side as well over there. Those all run on top of the hash graph data structure and consensus mechanism that we currently have on our mainnet. And obviously, it goes unsaid that the applications then get built on top of those that we see today. So the native services that I was alluding to before are essentially the consensus and the token services. They will happily run at 10,000 TPS. And like I said, they're very much the quickest and the cheapest way of you being able to use our network. That said, it makes total sense that those might not be the most comfortable choice for you when you're coming cross-chain. So what we've done at Hedera is to cater for the JSON RPC API call, through which a lot of tools, libraries, wallets will actually call through and want to access the network and the EVM. And we've done that through creating this JSON RPC relay interface that basically sits there on top of our network, if you like. So as those transactions come in, they get wrapped as Ethereum transactions and then get redirected through to either our mirror nodes, where they might be querying for information from the history of what's going on the ledger, or actually sent over to our consensus nodes, where you might actually be writing a transaction to the ledger instead. Now, this layer has been written because fundamentally there are differences, obviously, between the two sort of ecosystems. And I just want to share a couple of those with you so that you can kind of understand what that might mean. So think about network access to start with. Hedera behind the scenes uses gRPC for its communication between nodes. If you haven't checked that out, please do. It's a great kind of performance protocol, so that's the reason that we chose it. But obviously, most of the Ethereum world, apps, wallets, etc., really use JSON RPC as their communication protocol. And there's nuances around that that some of those apps rely on. Similarly, for us, from an account point of view, accounts on Hedera aren't tied to keys. So what I mean by that is that the keys can actually be rotated on your Hedera accounts. But more so than that as well, there's actually quite a few different complex variations that can go on too. So you can have multi-signature accounts where you might need more than one person to actually sign a transaction. You can have threshold accounts where you might need 3 or 5 people to sign it, for example. And you also could have a complex tree of signatures that might mirror perhaps the sign-off structure in organizations and that type of thing, perhaps. And look, out of the box, those aren't something that have an equivalent on Ethereum right now. And so tools like MetaMask wouldn't really understand what some of those protocols look like. So it's really important to make sure that from an equivalence point of view and from a cross-chain point of view, we have this kind of interface that allows those tools, libraries, to interface with Hedera in a way that's familiar for them. And obviously, that's kind of part of what it does for us to sort of bridge the gap between those differences. Now, with obviously having an EVM-compatible smart contract service, having a JSON RPC relay to interface with transactions from cross-chain, the doors are essentially wide open on Hedera now for you to have a look, for you to learn, for you to build on it, for you to explore, and most importantly, for you to leverage the network benefits where it fits for your kind of purpose. So I just want to talk with you a little bit about what that might look like, what the impact might be. Now, in terms of capabilities, Hedera already provides you with the capability of building reliable, cost-effective apps that are fair to users. So some of these kind of really talk to that in terms of the low predictable fees. So our transactions are fixed to the US dollar. And that kind of means that even though our token or coin price might change, your operational costs don't. So as somebody building and deploying an application, you can more readily predict what the costs are going to be for you over the course of you actually deploying and running that application, which is really important for those of you that are sort of looking at this through the business lens and trying to make sure that your cash flow is working appropriately. Now, there is obviously a high transaction throughput. I've mentioned that before. And really, from an app dev point of view, this is really about making sure there is room for you to scale and grow. Everybody wants their application to be successful. They want more users. They want more use. That being your trajectory, you need to make sure you have room for that growth on the network that you choose. we've got that growth capacity there, as I've said. And finally, with ABFT security and fair ordering, you can make sure that your application transactions are ordered fairly. So I'll talk more about that in a second. So I want to talk about how this might look different for you as a builder. What are some of the considerations that might be different? So technically, to start with, there is no mem or transaction pool on Hedera. It just isn't required. When those transactions are submitted to a node, they stay in that fixed position that they are received before going through consensus. More so, there is fair transaction ordering, as I alluded to on the last slide. So transactions going through consensus are ordered using our virtual voting protocol before then obviously being executed. So there is no need for you to deal with elevating the priority of your transaction for it to go through consensus and actually achieve a successful submission to the ledger. It actually will be executed fairly. All of them are treated with equal priority and therefore sequenced fairly in the order that they were received. Then, one thing I will note just before I mention this next part as well is just around the fair transaction ordering. If you think about that in terms of some of the logic and some of the code that you might build into your applications to cater for how that priority works around transactions, that wouldn't be required on Hedera. And in my book, from somebody that's written his fair share of code, less code is better. So that's a good thing. Now, finally, there is continual transaction execution. So this is kind of a really important point because Hedera is a leaderless network. So in that sort of sense, it leans itself into having those transactions submitted to a node, being ordered fairly through virtual voting, and then being executed straight off the back of that. So you have continual transaction execution. It means that you get a fast transaction confirmation time, typically 3 to 5 seconds. That's really important for those of you that might be building high-performance use cases that are required to be responsive. Think gaming, think mobile applications. You don't want users or customers sat there waiting for a response and figuring, what might have happened, etc. So you get the benefit of that on our network too. Now, why should you care about some of these things when you are building applications? So when applications can achieve sustainable, viable, high throughput consistently, it means that the bumps in your customer experience are minimized. All of those things that happen when you've got lots of customers using it and it starts falling over, go away. And that's kind of quite nice, right? So it means that you can focus on this, the customer experience, the things that bring people to what you're building. You can make sure that they have a great experience and they enjoy what it is that you're delivering to them. That's the most important part and the most important time you can spend on what it is that you're putting together. The next part is, because of what I've shared with you, you don't need to pay elevated fees to increase the priority of your transactions to get those accepted by the network, for them to be processed quickly so that you can give a great customer experience. Simply, you pay less as a builder, your customer pays less as well, and they essentially would use your application more. And finally, as I've said, you can guarantee fair ordering. Now, why is fairness important? I probably don't have to labor this too much, but in essence, as soon as you introduce some of these concepts into your application, so think ethics, where you're dealing with queues or service lanes, legal, with auditing items or compliance issues, stock, where you're managing different items going through a supply chain perhaps, or availability of them through a store, and then anything that is time or cost sensitive, then you, and more importantly, your customers are going to care about having fairness in the equation. Now, fundamentally, nobody likes having their social justice button pressed over and over and over. If you're a builder and you've got an application out there and you haven't had somebody moan in this way yet, I can rest assured that it's coming. As soon as you start scaling out and growing your business and have enough customers on your platform, people start picking out things that aren't quite right in your application. So things like, they were next in queue, they thought they were going to get it, they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. They were desperately trying to grab a ticket or mint an NFT and it didn't happen. So it's really important from a fairness point of view that you consider that if you don't like it in your experience in Web3, as a builder, as a developer, then customers are really not going to like it either. And that's really important to keep front and center as Web3 is adopted more and more on scale. Now, our journey as Hedera, from an EVM equivalence point of view as a network, gives you the option to tap into building high-performance applications, as we've talked about. They're leaderless, they're fair, and they execute transactions in that consistent and fair order. And that concept is going to become more and more important as more people come into Web3. See how smooth that was? I know you all liked that bit. OK, I just want to summarize, because I can't talk to you all day, despite the fact that I would enjoy doing that. Hedera is obviously on a journey to EVM equivalence. We already have an EVM-compatible smart contract service, i.e. you can write smart contracts in Solidity. You can leverage the 350 TPS that's there right now on our EVM-compatible smart contract service. But noting that if you don't need the complexity of specific smart contract nuances, perhaps that you would require for running a DEX, for example, there are native services you can access directly that are faster and cheaper. We have a JSON RPC relay that will enable apps that have been developed with Ethereum-only requirements in mind, along with wallets, tools, libraries that only use JSON RPC too. Okay. And finally, Hedera uses a leaderless consensus mechanism, and it ensures that your dApps are fair to your users. So, where now? I would encourage you to come and talk to us at our booth at 555 if I've touched on some things that have been inspiring or have raised questions for you. Happy to continue the conversation there. You're also welcome to tap into the resources I've put on screen at the moment around the Getting Started section of our website that will talk you through a few resources there. You can join our community over on Discord. And if I've inspired you enough to want to start building on Hedera and having a play, you are welcome to go and get yourself a testnet account. Those are routinely topped up to 10,000 test HBAR every 24 hours. That gives you plenty of scope for being able to battle test something that you might be considering bringing over to the network, or simply to have a play with it. I want to thank you finally for your time this morning and for coming up quite so early once again. I've really appreciated it, and I'll leave that there, but I'm happy to take any questions after the talk. Thank you very much. Okay.